Alrighty, so we're trying this voiceover thing here. If the audio's poor, I will be getting better headphones and a better speaker, hopefully to be actually wearing the speaker while I'm doing things. So this was a calving that I had last week. Owner's called, she's been calving for quite a while. Morning guy didn't notice her, afternoon guy came on and noticed that she was straining, pushing, and then something hanging out, but no calf. So we got to the call. At this point already, an epidural has been given. Joey, my man here in the video, you can't really see him, you can see his legs, is just holding the tail to keep it out of my way. We're talking. Me and Joey are pretty good friends, so it's always nice when you get to these dairies and it's good people there. It makes it much more easier to work and be willing to help them out. So this calf, originally, over the phone, what people say and what you see is going to be a little bit different. It did present as a quote-unquote breech. However, it was an upside-down breech. So usually, like you'll see in this video, breech calves that have their toes pointed upwards, whereas the initial breech, upon first presentation and palpation, the toes were flipped. So I'll try and find a diagram here and insert it. And explain a little bit. I know it's always easier to see rather than to understand it based on somebody's words. So what I did is I grabbed the legs without putting the chains on before here. As you can see, I'm inserting a tube so that we can lubricate things. But before we got to this point, I essentially just grabbed the legs, crisscrossed them, and the calf twisted into a normal breech position in utero. So after that, based on my examination, the cow has been calving for a while. What you see hanging out of her vagina is, in fact, placental detachment already occurring. My prognosis for the calf is poor, so getting a live calf out is very, very unlikely. So I filled up my bucket, water, J-Lube. J-Lube is very much so contraindicated if you're suspecting that a case will go to a C-section. So if you're working on a dystocia, working on a calving, and you think that C-section is a viable option, avoid J-Lube by all means, just because of the potential peritonitis that it might cause if it gets into the abdominal cavity. So with it being a calving that the cow's obviously been having an issue for quite a little bit of time, the fluid's out, the amniotic fluid is already gone. The calf's really dry. Just on palpation, you can feel that if you go in. You can feel the hairs of the calf. Usually it's going to be very, very slimy in a fresh calving, whereas in this one it was very dry. So here I'm just trying to pass that tube as far cranial as I can into the uterus so that we can get a nice dose of lubricant in there to be able to hopefully slide this calf out in the breech position. So at this point, we got to the bottom of our first bucket. I'm grabbing the chains with the handles, just trying to put a little bit of tension on. Big reason, something to be very cautious about with any type of dystocia is, yes, we do have a malpresentation, but with most malpresentations, you're also going to have incomplete dilation of the cervix. Just because you don't have that proper presentation, that streamlined appearance of those front legs with the head on top, to cause that positive feedback on the cervix. So as soon as you have those front legs coming through, they're narrow. Once that head hits the cervix, it provides feedback and allows that cervix to slowly dilate, which then essentially, with uterine contractions and pushing up against the cervix, the cow will pass a normal calf in a normal position and presentation on her own. In this scenario with the breech, we have those back legs coming out first, and then what's next to follow is obviously the butt. So not as streamlined. You can't have the butt sitting on top of the legs. It's essentially like a big tube and the cervix just gets the butt all at once. So something to keep in mind with dystocias in any species, honestly, is to just take it easy. Once you get engagement of the fetus within the birth canal, slow tension and pressure on that calf to slowly dilate the cervix is going to be important, because we don't want to harm the cow in any way, and we want to keep her in the dairy and keep her for that lactation and hopefully future lactations to bear more calves. So as you can see, one bucket was not enough. We're coming back for more. At this point, I'm pushing more past the cervix. So right now the cervix is really tight on the hamstrings, the quads, and the butt right at the very tip. So I'm trying to push my tube past that point to get the lube further down into the uterus, covering the abdomen, the ribs, and of course the head of the calf that's in there. So I think we fast forwarded here to our third bucket, just making sure that we're doing our due diligence. The more lube, the better. Honestly, it's easier for the cow. If the calf were alive, it's much easier for the calf. And then it's obviously easier for us, the people who are working on the back end trying to get this calf out. So at this point, we're applying that tension that I was talking about earlier. Slow, consistent tension, and then trying to pull as a little bit as that cow contracts with her uterus, which you can see by her pushing her stomach out right there on the side in between the gate. And then here what you're going to be seeing is what we call a calf jack. So calf jacks, I mean, in the bad hands they can be really, really bad, but in the right hands, I mean, you're saving your body as a veterinarian, as a close-up herdsman or a person that works in the hospital, but you really need to know how to use it and when to use it. There's a lot of horror stories with calf jacks being used too aggressively, too fast, on cases that one, maybe didn't need it, and then on two, on cases where you're having a big calf that can't be pulled out by hand, so people go towards the alternative of a calf jack expecting that big calf to come through with more force. So what's important to note here is, I mean, I sped this video up. This calf jack was applied over an 8, almost 9-minute period, and I'm going in after every little bit. So here I'm tensioning one leg at a time. I'm going in, putting pressure down on that calf jack to essentially stimulate the birth of that calf, and then what we talked about earlier, stimulate cervical dilation. So we got the butt end coming out here right now. You can see the tail hanging between those back legs, and at this point we're almost home free. So just a little bit longer, a little bit big push, actually not a little push, but a big push from the cow, and that calf should slide on out. So you'll see the importance of lube. That calf, even with all that lube that I put in, is still looking very, very dry. And don't be alarmed by how that calf hit the floor. I already knew that that calf was essentially dead, passed away before I even popped it out. So I wasn't worried about catching it. It does look a little bit vulgar, and I apologize for that, but that calf did not feel that when it hit the ground. So that's a quick little summary on a calving. It's my first attempt at a voiceover on a calving, and I already know about things that I can improve. I got to stop saying I definitely got to pause and stop doing a voiceover all the way through, but I hope you guys learned something. I hope you understood what I was saying. If not, please comment down below and I can explain things in further detail. So I wanted to provide an inside look in regards to what actually goes on these operations. This calving was, some people might say that it's easy, but I like to say that no dystocia, no calving is easy. I mean, it takes the practice and it takes the time to learn and understand things for sure. I know when I first started, you go to your first dystocia and you're freaking out because you don't know when to do things, what to do at certain times, when to give up and move on to the next thing that you have in mind, and all that type of stuff. But for anybody who's in vet school, wanting to go to vet school, new grads, whatnot, just take your time. Everything comes with practice and getting those numbers underneath your belt. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening, and please like, comment, share, subscribe. I'm really putting an effort in to provide you guys with the background footage of what goes on in a large animal vet's life. So I hope you guys enjoyed and stay tuned for the next one. Thanks.